as a spectator, people always, are asking me, they assume these kids grow up on the ice, which isn't fully accurate. There's a lot of inliners from the South.
Right.
How do you tell people to watch the events to appreciate it more? Because when I see you on TV, when you're showing the times to the skater coming around, that I just get so excited. But how would you tell a layperson just what to look for?
Right.
Yeah,
So if you look at the difference between short track and long track, I would say like when you watch short track, you have to appreciate the strategy. And again, that no one race is ever the same. And it's not particularly always the fastest guy that wins. There's so much that is involved. Again, if you get taken out by a guy because you're in a wrong position at the wrong time, you're on the outside making a pass and the guy falls and takes you out, that's just the nature of the sport. Or you get DQ'd, and with their video replay system now, it seems that is a lot less,
hmm,
but it's still a part of it. And you have to accept that. And from the differences in the distances, obviously in short track, 500 up to 1500, and then you got the relays, and now you got the mixed gender relays put in there. There's a
yeah,
lot of strategy that goes that's involved into based on who you're racing in your heat and what their strengths are, what their track patterns are, and how they're going to race against you. In
okay,
long track, the strategies are also different from race to race. Depending on the lane you get, depending on the pair you get,
yeah,
will also dictate a little bit on how you approach the race. And even though a lot of like most of the racing on inlines is in a pack,
yeah,
there's very few that are time trials, and when they're on the shorter side, 300 meters and under. So a lot of times when I get parents or coaches from inline, they're like, "Oh, this is boring." It's like, well, you have to when you watch the distance races, you have to appreciate the fact that the distance racers are going over 30 miles an hour
yeah,
with no carrot in front of them. And they're able to hold each lap time within a tenth or two lap after lap.
yeah.
That's the science of like distance racing, being able to play to your strength and make sure that you can sustain. You're nearly redlining, especially in the men's 5,000 meter, the women's 3K. Those distances, they're nearly redlining from the
Wow,
gun, and they got to sustain that for 6 minutes.
wow,
And that's really really intensive. So when you see a distance skater and they're skating a 28-second lap on lap 11 of 12, 3 miles in, that's pretty darn impressive. And then when you look at the shorter distances, 500 meter, obviously that's a full sprint, you're going top end, but you're not really going 100%, because if you go 100%, you can overskate. And if you overskate and you make one slip in a 500 meter, you
it's
could go
over.
from first to 20th,
Wow,
you know? So
wow,
that's where you got to live in that headspace. And then you got the middle distances, right? The 1,000 and 1,500. The 1,500 is the most anaerobic race in the field. And you're basically in oxygen debt for the last 30 seconds of that race. And so
wow.
people can't imagine creating over 30 millimoles of lactate in their muscles. So when they see the skaters crawling off the ice because they can't stand, that's not a dramatization. I mean, most
Yeah,
physiologists, most physiologists, you know, they can't fathom what 30 millimoles of lactate feels like.
wow.
And most track and field runners, swimmers are somewhere between 10 and 12, and that's already at their limit.
Wow.
The closest on to ice is like probably track cycling in the kilometer,
Hmm.
race. They called it the kilometer.
Yeah.
So it's very, very muscular. It's very, very heavy. So and you also get what they call the 1,500 meter hack.
Yeah.
So when you see skaters later on in the day, maybe 3, 4 days down the road, they're still hacking up a lung because their
Yeah.
lungs have shut down from being so anaerobic.
Wow.
So these physiological requirements for racing take years upon years to develop, you know.